Good morning, dear friends. Monday, May 27th, 2024. It's just a little after 6 a.m. I'm usually not up this early, but I really couldn't sleep for whatever reason. One of the dogs is sick, and so that's probably has something to do with it. It's a little rainy today and kind of windy. I hope it's not too windy for the sound, but you can go ahead and, if you're watching this, put it on double speed because I usually speak pretty slow. I try and speak clear. Um, Hopefully this will just be a short video, but I was thinking of some thoughts that I thought I'd like to put down on video for you. I know that the last video that I produced, it was about a specific digital currency that I'm keeping my eye on that I know is not applicable to a lot of people, and that's fine. So I wanted to give you some examples, some real life examples that might be inspirational or might help somebody to think of things a little differently. We know in Scripture Jesus said, "The poor you will always have with you, and anytime you want, you can do them a good deed, but you're not always going to have me around here." And he said, walk while you have the light. I'm here, and all these miracles are happening. He said that the night is coming when no one can work. And also, I was thinking of the statement where he said that when he comes back, he says, "Am I going to even find faith on the earth when I come back?" And so faith is a rare thing, and I wanted to share something that may inspire even just a little bit of faith in somebody out there. As I said, um, different ideas can be beneficial to different people at different times. So I'm going to share with you a few stories. One is about my own personal experience, and then I'll have a few anecdotes that I think you'll find entertaining near the end of the video. When I was in real estate, I met tons and tons of people from all different walks of life. And in fact, rent. I used to have rental property and rent out to the public at large. And what I would do is something that I learned from taking a real estate investment course. And during my time in real estate, people would ask me, "Oh, how do you do that? How does that work? You have rental property. How does that work?" And I would tell people, "Oh, well, I purchased this course called the Real Estate Investment Network." It was a company based in Alberta. I don't know if they're defunct or if they're still around. This is going back many years. And I knew people that were part of that network, Real Estate Investment Network, it was called, based out of Alberta. And they had dozens of properties and they were multimillionaires and they didn't think anything of it. It was just as easy as walking across the street for them. So I bought that course, and what I would do, one of the things, it taught me many things, and I offered that to many people. I would say, well, if you want to know about real estate investing and how it works, I would recommend this course. It's $100, but it's a worthwhile investment. I never had a single person take me up on that, not one. And so that tells me that unless the person comes up with the idea themselves, they won't adopt an idea. The person essentially has to find their own opportunity. Um, but what I would do is if I had a property that normally rented for, let's say, $1,000, I would put it either on Facebook Marketplace or whatever the current thing at the time. Kijiji was a big thing. It's not so much anymore. Now everything's Facebook Marketplace. But at the time, Kijiji was a big thing, and I would list it. If it was worth $1,000 a month, I would rent it out for $800 a month, and so it would always be below market rent, and I'd get hundreds of applications, and because of that, I was able to filter out. For example, anybody that says is it still available, that would immediately be filtered out. They wouldn't qualify for the property. And people say, "How could you do that?" Because you could afford to be so fussy that out of, let's say, 200 applicants, you could pick two or three to call back, and the people that would rent those properties would begin replying by telling me a positive story about themselves. And that made choosing a tenant so easy. Somebody would reply and say, "Hi, my name is so and so. This is what I'm doing. I'm currently working here. I'm thinking about this. I'm planning that." And those were the people that I would choose. And I never had a problem tenant ever. I think out of all the people that I rented to, I had one person that had a problem, but they had some type of mental health crisis. But never had a problem. And people said, "Wow." And the phrase that they would use in that course was, the physical property is not the asset. The tenant is the asset. You're looking for somebody that is valuable to partner with. You give them a better deal than market rent, and they give you a better person that has a positive attitude that the rent always gets paid. Anyway, that's just one little anecdote that may start to trigger ideas for people. But today, as I mentioned before, real estate is really not a big thing. But let's mention a couple of anecdotes for you that you may find entertaining. One was a story I read. I read a biography by a fellow by the name of Jim Baker. Now, I don't know if you know who Jim Baker was. He was a famous televangelist, him and his wife, and he ended up doing some financial indiscretions. I can't remember if it was tax evasion or fraud or something like that. He ended up having to go to jail. And he wrote a book called I Was Wrong. I read it ages ago. I don't know if I still have it in my library. I think I might have given it away to somebody. But he wrote this book called I Was Wrong, and it was obviously sympathetic to himself and the struggles he went through and all this kind of stuff. He used to own this theme park in the United States. He had a TV program, him and his wife, Tammy Faye Baker. You may know who I'm talking about, but if you don't, it doesn't matter. He was a famous television evangelist, and he ended up having to go to jail. Now, imagine this. While he's in jail, the guy's essentially bankrupt, broke. He's got no resources to his name, and yet, even while he's in jail, he was trying to do a deal to have another theme park. He had found this theme park in the United States somewhere that had gone into foreclosure, was being sold at a bank sale. Pardon me, just having a little tea to wake up. Sorry about that. And he had found an investor, a Canadian investor, in fact, that was willing to back him. And I forget the actual numbers, but it was something like a theme park, huge acreage of property with, all this stuff and water slides and all that. And let's say it was worth 20 million and it was going for a bank sale for a ridiculous price, like 5 million. And so it was like under sealed bids and all that. And he got this investor to support him with his offer, and he put an offer of, like, I don't know, 8 million, let's say. The numbers don't really matter. But here's the kicker, is that he didn't win the bid for the property, but the guy that did win the bid for the property, somebody else came along the day after that the auction was completed, and not Jim Baker, some other guy came up to the guy that won the bid and offered him $1 million more than he won the bid. You hear what I'm saying? Let's say the property was worth 20 million and this guy bought it for 8 million. A guy came the next day and said, "Hey, I know you won the bid, but I'll give you 9 million for the property if you want to sell it to me." And the guy thought about it and said, "Yeah, okay." So the guy that won the bid on that property made $1 million in one day for doing nothing, just signing some papers. And that made me think, wow, I thought I had a little bit of faith and I did some good. I did well in my life in some different investments that I had in 3 major areas. I did well in my life, but this guy was at another level. And you hear those kind of stories all the time. Another one is, I think I might have mentioned in a different video, Paul Mitchell, the guy that did the hair products. I think he went belly up in one business and then did the whole thing over again in another business. But these little anecdotes sometimes can spur you to think of what is possible and what isn't. And another one I'd like to mention to you is, I got 2 more, 3 anecdotes that I think you'll like. That was the first one, the one about Jim Baker. The second one is of a story. I wish I had actual documentation of it. But it was a first-hand story of somebody that rented an apartment downtown Toronto, I believe, and I think it was $2,000 a month, a 2-bedroom. and they advertised to rent the property for $2,000 a month. They were renting it for $2,000 a month. They advertised it for $2,000 a month, and they got somebody to rent one bedroom of their two-bedroom apartment for $2,000 a month so that they lived rent-free. And they say, "Oh, that's not ethical. That's oh, how could somebody do that?" Here's the kicker: they told the person that they were renting to, "Hey, you know what? I'm renting this for what I'm paying for it. If you're okay with that, then that's the deal." And the person was like, "Yep, I'm okay with that." Either it was close to where they worked, or they had a temporary work assignment where they had to work there for a year, and after that they were leaving the country again, or some circumstance that it fit, it was in their budget, they liked it, they didn't mind sharing the apartment with this other person, and that person ended up living rent free. Now, I don't know how long that lasted, and I don't know whether that is, I don't think I would have the, I don't know, the moral fortitude, or what. A lot of people would be horrified to hear that story. Say, "That's terrible." But again, I'm telling you this story simply because it's anecdotal, and it may trigger somebody to think, saying, "Oh, I can't because of this." But you never know when you start thinking outside the box. The title, "Opportunity is Nowhere," or you can read it as "Opportunity is Now Here," is the point of the title of the video. I thought I'd make the title of the video "Opportunity is Nowhere," right? And the last anecdote, I actually have a link to the story. It's from this year. I believe it's from January of this year. And that is in the city of Brampton, Ontario, where they found a home in Brampton, and the mayor of the city actually reported on it, Patrick Brown. He found a bylaw officer reported to him and said, "Dear Mr. Mayor, we have a house in Brampton that has 25 students living in a single basement apartment. 25 students. Imagine each of those students paying $400 a month, because I've seen properties on Facebook Marketplace that are being rented, and they're saying, this is what you're paying for. You're paying $400 a month. You're getting a air mattress, like a single person air mattress that you use for camping, in a portion of a room. So you're sharing the room with other people. It doesn't say how many. And it's got blankets on it, and that's it. Shared bathroom, shared kitchen, shared everything. And you get a space on the floor in one room for rent. And whoever is doing that, if it's 25 students times 400, that's $10,000 a month that individual is earning out of that property. And you say, "Well, that's unethical. That's not safe. That's illegal." Of course it is. And obviously, I'm not recommending that to anybody. I just noticed that there's somebody in my video there that's a person that we take care of. My brother, he has Parkinson's, so we take care of him in our home. So if I had known, I didn't know he'd be up this early. Sorry about that. Anyway, I can delete that out later or something. Let's get back to the story. It reminds me of when Arnold Schwarzenegger used to give some motivational speeches once in a while. And one of his principles was, sometimes you have to break the rules. He'd say in his thick Austrian accent, you have to break the rules sometimes. I'm not recommending you break the rules like that, right? That's an extreme example. But the reason why I want to share that anecdote again is to get people thinking of what is and isn't possible. For us native Canadians, we would never ever consider anything like that. But for somebody that's coming from a different country, that might come as naturally as walking across the street and say, "Hey, I got a place. I can rent it out. There's tons of students around that need a place to stay. It's a win-win. They're getting a place for dirt cheap that they can't get anywhere else, and I'm making a crap ton of money at the same time." And so I share the story just to jog your mind. I'll tell you one more anecdote. I know somebody, a dear friend, and I'll change the details slightly so to protect the innocent, so to speak. This person has a specific qualification. It's a lady, a nice lady, and let's say her specific qualification is very similar to being a fashion designer. and they're trained in this particular field. And any other opportunity that comes across their path, they say, oh no, I can't do that because I'm trained in this area. I can only, this is what I'm trained to do. I can't just, I can't just go and flip burgers, or I can't just go be a greeter at Walmart or something. And so that person hasn't worked for like the last 20 years. They live in a hoarder type of situation where it's just, it's chaos. And so there's that. And so as you meet different people, the common theme is that I could never do that. Oh, that's immoral. Um, that would never work for me because, and this is, then when you hear those reasons, you realize where Jesus said, the poor you're always going to have with you. And anytime you want, you can do good deeds to them. Because poverty is not based on circumstance. It's based on the mental restrictions that the person places upon themselves, right? I told you the story of Brian Tracy and the elephant. When they train an elephant in places where they have elephants, apparently, they'll tie the elephant up with a chain and a stick, driven into the ground, so that when he tries to pull it, he can't escape. But after a while, they don't have to put the stick in the ground anymore. They can just leave it on the ground, and the elephant won't move because it has been trained to think that it cannot. And that's sort of, it's not my anecdote, that's the anecdote Brian Tracy used to give in his motivational talks that he would say, telling people that they're trained to think like the animal that is trapped, and I can't get out. It's impossible for me to get out of that trap. And yet someone will come right along. It's like the guy, the pool of Siloam, right? You know the story. It's an old story, the parable that Jesus told, that the guy said, I can't, because when I try and go down, somebody goes ahead of me and then I lose my opportunity. And so if you can refresh on that story about why and how he got healed and things like that. But those thoughts were swimming around in my head today, and I wanted to share them with you, because I'm hoping that somebody might benefit down the road from it and say, hey, you know what? There's opportunities, but they're not always conventional. Yes, you got to stay moral, and you don't want to rip people off, and you don't want to give people a bad deal and all that kind of stuff. But there are win-win opportunities out there if you look closely. And your opportunities are going to be unique to you, because when you find them and discover them, you'll say, aha, maybe this will work for me. And it'll probably be something very unique, very different, but something that can make a huge difference in your financial life, in your physical health, in your social life, where you can network with people and meet like-minded people that are positively motivated and that will spur you on to better opportunities in life, to have a more blessed life that is often prosperous in the monetary sense, but other types of prosperity as well. As I said, social prosperity, physical prosperity, mental prosperity, and hopefully it can be a blessing to you. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching. I love you very much. I pray that you're blessed in all that you do. Opportunity is now here is the title of this video. And if we look around, we will see opportunity where there seems to be none. But you have to have eyes of faith to do that. If you close yourself off to opportunity and you convince yourself that there is none, and you commiserate with people that think and live that way, you will stay that way. Things won't change. If you keep doing what you've been doing, things are not going to change. They're not going to get better. You have to break that mindset and say, yes, there is opportunity. God, help me find that opportunity. And then you can go from there. The sky is the limit. Thank you for watching. God bless you. We'll talk to you again soon, okay? Hope you have yourself a wonderful day. It's going to be a rainy, kind of cloudy day today, but we'll get through it. It's going to be a great day anyway, right? Take care. Bye-bye now.